Very good morning, everyone. I hope you are doing well. What we are going to do today, decode complete GS paper 3. How to prepare and what to prepare about GS paper 3. In this context, the first and the foremost reason why the students score less is basically vastness of the syllabus. Vastness of the syllabus. Syllabus for GS paper 3 is very vast. When I say this, what I mean is very simple. It consists of 6 basic subjects. 6 subjects. Now understand, 6 subjects. And I will tell you the problem of these 6 subjects also. Economy. I will take agriculture. Agriculture. We are having something called as basically internal security. Internal security. Fourth is environment and ecology. Fifth, disaster management. And sixth is my science and technology. Right? So all these 6 subjects, all these are the 6 subjects. Now, in all these 6 subjects, the problem here itself, the first and the foremost major problem is the syllabus is vast, and secondly, syllabus is open-ended. Open-ended syllabus. Second, generic nature of the syllabus. Generic nature of the syllabus. And interlinked to each other, and interlinkages between the syllabus topic, between the syllabus topic. These are the basic 3 points about this. Let me try to elaborate upon each of this. If I take first subject, economy, it does have both of the things to be incorporated, that is conceptual knowledge, concepts should be clear, plus analytical skills are essential about the issue, analytical skills which should be integrated with the current affairs, right? So these are the basic things that are required about any particular thing. What is required is these basic things, right? Economy mein. Now when I say the syllabus is open-ended, what I mean, let me take quote unquote exactly what UPSC says. For economy, I will just write and then I will show you. Basically, if you say Indian economy, I hope this font is visible. Just be patient for another 20-30 minutes, you will understand what I am trying to tell, all through the PYQs. Indian economy, the question is about, the topic says that Indian economy, issues related to, these are quote unquote exactly the words given by UPSC, issues related to planning, mobilization of the resources, growth, development, development, and inclusive growth, and basically employment, right? So I am underlining Indian economy issues related to basically so called as growth, development. Secondly, what they have mentioned is about inclusive growth. So that means inclusive growth, and this both the topics are interlinked to each other. Just be attentive. Similarly, this is also linked to something called as, UPSC mentions about government budgeting. These are all UPSC topics which I am writing up. Then what we are having is employment and associated issues, quote unquote exactly the words written by the UPSC. Then what we are having, LPG reforms and effects of it. Right? And then what we have is something called as infrastructure, that is energy, roads, railways, etc., and investment models, which I mean FDI, FFI, PPP, BOT, etc. Now if you try to understand, when I am saying that this topic, vastness of the syllabus, I am speaking initially right now about what? Economy. When I am saying about economy, all these are the basic 6 words or 6 lines given by UPSC. First is issues related to inclusive growth or economic development, growth, etc. Now when I say that this topic, now in this topic, if you just try to understand the issues with respect to growth and development, the growth and the development terms are very generic. It can include everything under the sun. Because growth and development is linked to LPG reforms post-era, LPG era. It is also linked to the different types of investment. Am I right? I hope you're understanding. Depending upon this only questions is asked. Is it clear? Now, in Indian economy, in Indian economy, if you take the various sectors of economy, primary, secondary, tertiary, then, or if you try to understand government budgeting of India, how is that basically center state or the state finances are linked to each other? Matlab, what I'm trying to tell is that all these types of economy, care economy, monetized economy, market economy, can they really achieve inclusive growth? Correct? Post LPG era, how has industry been affected? How is the industries affected? So industries ka bhi ek topic hai. So what I mean here, if I try to understand all these topics together, when I study this in silos. This is the first major mistake that aspirants do. They study basically the syllabus and the topics separately. But actually it should not be. Why and how? Let me explain. First, I will decode one topic. Indian economy. Let's be attentive. Indian economy, issues related to growth. कौन सा growth? Economic growth, comma, development, and I will also write something called as inclusive growth or inclusive development. So let us try to decode how the questions have been asked. First, I will tell you that how the questions are there from 2013 till 24. On which basis? On this basis. Just understand. If you just try to see this PDF of economy, first topic which it speaks about is something called as basically the PYQs related to only one topic, Indian economy and associated issues, planning, mobilization of resources, growth, development, right? Now, if you try to analyze all these questions, how the questions are asked, I will tell you. If you take randomly anything, first of all, you should know about basics of economy, sectors of economy, the types of economies. Is inclusive growth possible under market economy? How is care economy, monetized economy affecting the economic growth? In India, most of the unemployment, this topic growth is linked to what? Unemployment, right? Is structural in nature. What are the challenges? Similar, if you just see computation methods. So only on the basis of this, all the questions of this respective topic, I'm trying to decode. I will share this PDF. Don't worry. I'm trying to decode how is this linked to each other. This is purely on the basis of all the questions which I'm trying to show you. I hope you're understanding. So now when I'm decoding these two particular topics, one is something called as economic growth and development. So in UPSC, if you consider 2013 till 2024, on this topic, how the questions are asked, let me try to decode. Economic growth, first what they have asked is basically example, measurement of GDP and changes in the methodology, which pre and post 2015, this was a question of 2016, how GDP is measured, what is the methodology, why it is changed. Matlab basic, correct? First point, economic growth ka. Secondly, they asked yet another important question on the basic, that is explain the meaning of something called as potential GDP. What is the meaning of what? Potential GDP, and what are the factors which are stopping India from realizing its original potential GDP? What is potential GDP? GDP you have to increase, but not at the cost of the inflation. Matlab ye dono questions are basics with respect to this one particular topic. Am I right? Thirdly, now they are linking this topic, economic growth, to something called as employment or any other thing. Let us try to understand how. Question was, explain how the labor productivity is affecting the economic growth. Are you understanding? Then what they are trying to ask is something like this. If you consider economic growth in India, we are seeing that there is something called as jobless growth. Why there is jobless growth, etc., etc. Matlab, we have directly shifted from primary sector of economy to tertiary. What are the reasons? We have to analyze it. And because of that, what are the impacts, especially with respect to growth and employment? That means we need to analyze this issue. Are you understanding? These are all issues. Similarly, here one more major point with respect to economic growth from the basic economic aspect is savings rate. Example, they once asked about savings rate. These are all PYQs. What I'm trying to tell, these are all PYQs. How is that savings rate of the Indian economy will stimulate the economic growth? How is it linked to banking and any everything? All these things were asked by economy. That means economic growth is linked to various topics. So here I am writing topics which are linked to economic growth. That is something called as, let us try to understand. First, it is linked to employment. Second, they are asked how is it linked post LPG reforms. Getting the point? How that economic growth is linked to something called as inclusive growth. Matlab, question is not directly what is economic growth, what are the factors affecting, aisa nahi aata hai. This is what you prepare. This will never be asked. Question is, what is the trend of economic GDP? Now here, if you just try to understand, question tha trend of the economic growth in India. Indian economy, if you just try to understand, today also is good in a shape. Why good in a shape? Because GDP is increasing, but at a constant inflation. What is the reason for the increase in the GDP at the constant inflation? That means we are successful with respect to fiscal reforms and monetary policy also. We have to analyze this issue and we have to tell the trend. When I'm telling the trend, I have to include various bar graphs and pie charts. 1947 to 1992, uske baad 2000 till basically आपका 2025. How is it changing? What is the trend? This is what is given in the economic survey. Matlab, I have to analyze it. Now when I consider the different sectors of economy, that is primary sector, secondary sector and tertiary sector. So what UPSC has asked in the past about economic growth is mainly focusing upon secondary sector, and this secondary sector they are linked to the jobless growth. Why is that? In India, MSMEs have failed. Why is that? MSMEs are important. They are labor intensive. And in this context, which of the following policies government have brought iske liye for improving the secondary sector? Again, it means this topic is linked with employment, LPG, industrial growth, right? And inclusive growth. Or I was saying industries or industrial growth. Am I right? I hope you are understanding. Now, again, I'm just right now dealing with only one topic, guys. That is economic growth. Now, when I consider Indian economy, I do understand Indian economy and economic growth are interrelated, where economic growth, we are having something called as different sectors of economy, primary, secondary and tertiary, where UPSC is focusing mainly today also upon secondary sector and how is it impacting the economic growth. Am I right? In this context, whenever the question is about the tertiary sector, what UPSC is asking, how is it linked to post LPG era? Tertiary sector and post LPG era. How has FDI, FFI improved in which sector, which state? This is what analysis we need. These are all questions, previous year questions. Here I am trying to tell that topic itself is so open-ended. This is what is the first major challenge. The topic itself is open-ended. They can link to other different points. Getting the point? So that means aspirant needs to study in a holistic way the different issues. Exactly same. When I'm considering the economic growth, and let us try to understand different types of economies. If I consider different types of economies, that is none other than here. If I say something called as care economy. Second, market economy. Third, monetized economy. Then tell me, last year also this question is there. Tell me how will all these economies can achieve inclusive development and inclusive growth. Can India, which is a sovereign and socialist country, where most of the people are engaged in the primary sector, and where per capita income is not too high, and there is a lot of inequality as per multiple reports like Global Inequality Index, etc. Can India achieve inclusive development under market economy, that is under capitalism? Is it suitable for India? You need to have analysis of it. Getting the point? Now, when you are having analysis for it, market economy, you need to bring lot of basic things. Correct? When I'm speaking about inclusive development and inclusive growth, I need to incorporate various points like basically something called as education, health, women, children, etc. Is it really impacting? For example, care in economy. How is it impacting the economic growth? I hope you're understanding. So if you try to understand this one single topic which I've told, I will decode all the syllabus. But here I'm trying to tell the first major problem with the student is when they see the syllabus, they will Google it, make use of ChatGPT, Indian planning economy dal do. It will not help. Why it will not help? Because questions are not asked like in that following way. These are all PYQs. So the first major challenge, as I mentioned earlier, is none other than vastness of the subject and open-ended syllabus. Open-ended syllabus, what I mean is that inclusive growth, inclusive development, bhai sab kuch aata hai uske andar. Inclusive growth incorporate everything, jobless growth, LPGs, everything it can include. So matlab topics are interlinked. One. Along with this, you need conceptual clarity, analytical abilities, and integration of the current affairs, which is rarely done. I will tell you how. For example, if this is a topic that we are discussing, in this what we saw? We saw sabse pehla syllabus topic. What we saw is that syllabus topic, right? Understand this. Which was the topic? Topic was Indian economy issues, Indian economy and issues associated to planning mobilization resources. On this topic, what we saw, on the basis of the PYQs, we understood the demand of the topic, right? We understood the demand of the topic. Now, depending upon this demand, I understood demand of the topic and what is required. Now, on the basis of PYQs, if I understanding the demand, then I have to integrate current affairs. Integrate what? Current affairs. If I have to give an analogy here, for example, this topic was Indian economic growth. This is what we are discussing: growth, development, and inclusive growth, right? These are the topics which are given. Now, these topics, as I mentioned earlier, the demand and the interlinkages, what I understood, integration, interlinkages of the other topics, subtopics like employment, LPG, correct? Inclusive growth, industries. This is what is basically the interlinkage of this respective topic. And depending upon that, I have to prepare because this is the demand of the examination. Now, I should also, on the basis of the past year questions, I should try to integrate the ongoing current issues. How? Let me try to tell you. If you try to understand the current affairs, integration of the current affairs. Now, मुझे integration किसका करना है? Current affair. कौन सा topic? Indian economic growth, comma, development. Then what I know is the following thing. In last 1.5 years, what has happened? I should know each and everything on the tip of the tongue. Kaise? For example, right now, earlier they asked us question about measurement of the GDP computation. Why it was changed? That is in 2015, change in the computational methodology. Again, the government this year wants to change something called as what? Anyone? Change base year for GDP computation. GDP computation from 2011-12 to 2020-22. Right? Now, question wo nahi aayega. Question aayega. Why it is essential? What is the significance of it? And what potential impact it can have? Am I right? So when you are studying, first of all, you should know what is GDP, how it is calculated, what is the present methodology, and what is the issues associated with it. Once you understand this, then you can link this current affair with it. Am I right? Earlier, they have asked one more basic question. what is the meaning of the potential GDP? What are its determinants, right? And what are the factors which are inhibiting Indian economy to reach its potential? In the similar concept, recent times mein, another concept which is in news, that is about a new term called as GKDP. Anyone, what is this? What is this? Government is emphasizing. Anyone? Explain the term gross knowledge domestic product. Explain the meaning of gross knowledge domestic product and significance of it in the Indian economy. Full stop. Can it help to propagating the employment in the Indian economy? Are you understanding? Matlab, what I'm trying to tell? I'm trying to tell you something called as current affairs, bacho. But how am I integrating this current affair? On the basis of the syllabus, PYQ and the demand of the examination. After understanding basics, getting the point. Similarly, the most important issue which is ongoing, for example, they have asked earlier something called as how can basically savings rate in Indian economy impact the Indian economy. Am I right? I will show all the PYQs. I hope you're understanding. In this context, they can also ask recently, for the first time, what happened? There is something called as, in Indian economy, liquidity deficit. Liquidity deficit. Why was there liquidity deficit in Indian economy? What are the factors for it? How it will impact the Indian economy? And why have RBI conducted OMOs, open market operations? So what I mean is that when you are studying this current affair, you study it individually. Correct? When you are studying this basic, you are studying it individually. Actually, preparation is not like that. Preparation should be in an integrated way where different topics of the syllabus are interlinked to each other. And that is why we should have in-depth understanding. This is what not I am trying to tell. This is what UPSC says on the basis of only one thing, that is PYQs. Is it clear? So the first challenge what the students are facing, while I understand this, is the open nature and lack of understanding of the demand of the examination. Open-ended and generic topics, you need conceptual clarity also, right? I hope you're understanding. Now, when I speak about the other syllabus points, I will take the other syllabus points also. Now, when the second, this is the first challenge, major challenge. Second challenge, along with this vastness of the subject, is GS-3 is misunderstood. When I speak about GS paper 3, what is in your mind? Tell me. Economics, correct? At least she is honest, come on. Economics, which itself is a myth. Which itself is a myth. Why? Because if you analyze all the past 5-year papers, then what we understand is the following thing. First, if you consider the subjects like economy, just be very attentive. Economy, if you consider the subjects like agriculture, if you consider subject like basically internal security, if you consider the subject like environment, if you consider the subject like science and technology, and last, disaster and disaster management. Now I will show you all the original papers, and then I will try to tell you that what is the major problem. As you guys rightly said, कि basically economy dimag mein aata hai, right? I will first write all the questions and then I will move on to the other points. Now, if I consider all these 6 subjects, then if I have to tell you each year the number of the questions which are coming, each year and the marks for this respective subject, and which are the question numbers also in all papers from example 2020 to 2024. GS3 is misunderstood. This is the second major myth, and that is why it is difficult to score, or what is essential to know is that GS3 is not economy. Why? Because economy there are total only 4 questions. Only 4 questions, not average. I am telling exact number. Which? Question number 1, question number 2. Both of these are for 10 markers, that is 20 marks ho gaya. Question number 11, question number 12. That means overall only I am saying 50 मार्क्स का पेपर आउट ऑफ 250 मार्क्स पेपर, only 50 marks belong to economy, and you give your maximum time only for economic preparation. Then how are you going to score? Am I right? Most neglected component of GS paper 3 is none other than agriculture. Do you know how many questions are there in agriculture? 4 questions. Each year you will get 4 questions. Now, which are these questions? Question number 3, question number 4, question number 13, and question number 14. Again, this also have 50 marks, but we rarely prepare for agriculture separately. Crops, cropping pattern, right? Then PDS, buffer stocks, MSP rated issues, we rarely prepare about this. Am I right? Similarly, internal security. Again, each year you will get compulsorily 4 questions on this topic. That is question number 9, question number 10, question number 19, and question number 20. Again, 50 marks from only from one section. 150 marks paper is from the 3 subjects, and these are the respective apka question numbers. I will tell you how to attend in the examination hall. When I used to write GS paper 3 till 2019, I never scored less than 115. The reason is very simple. I used to go in this way. Not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. पहला जाके I will take internal security. उसके बाद agri, उसके बाद economy. Depend upon what I know. But I will take एक साथ ही पूरा. First I will first go for with internal security example. If internal, I will first write 15 markers का question. उसके बाद 10 markers. But एक साथ ही, मतलब together I will write all the internal security questions. Together, I will write all the agriculture. Because I know that the professor who is correcting economy paper will not correct, as far as my knowledge goes, he will not correct science and tech or internal security. उसके लिए सिर्फ 4 question evaluate करना है. Getting the point? Environment, each year you get 3 questions compulsorily. Then you are again science and tech, 3 questions compulsorily. And rest of the 2 questions, the most easiest questions of all, are none other than disaster management, which can vary. Question number 5, 6, 7. So if I were to show you all the papers, just see. If I were to show you all these papers, so this is nothing but 2024 paper, just now, just completed. Right? If you just see, I hope that this is visible. Right? If you just see, examine. Again, the keywords are neglected by the aspirants. Examine. You have to do examination about what? About the trend of the public expenditure. Public expenditure on what? Health, education, women, everything. Trend and pattern both are on what? Public expenditure on what? Social services in what? Post-reforms period. Again LPG plus ये plus inclusive growth. तीनों एक साथ question है. In that limited time period, 10 markers, 150 words, 7.2 minutes, you have to bring all that thing into on the paper. For that, you should have already content and done lot of brainstorming. Am I right? Similarly, to what extent this has been in consonance with the achieving the objective of what? Inclusive growth. Similar, next, causes of high inflation, comment on the effectiveness of monetary policy. Matlab, you have to do monetary. So, question number 1 and 2. First, I will show you this question number 1 and 2. Uske baad, question number, if you just see, 11, again, merits, demerits of labor code, employment, and the need for during the connectivity, that is infrastructure. Question number 11, 12, and question number 1 and 2, iska hai economy. Correct? If you just see, again, question number, I will show you. Factors responsible for successful implementation of land reforms, agriculture. 4th, millets, agriculture. Question number, again, 13 and 14. If you just see, question number 13 and 14, major challenges faced by irrigation system, and uske baad buffer stocks, PDS ka. Again, agriculture. If you just see, again, question number 9 and 10, narco-terrorism, that is question number 9, and question number 10 is about digital personal security. That is again internal security, 9 and 10. And again 1920 basically is none other than again aapka so-called as border issues with respect to China, and again about so-called as social media, role of social media, matlab internal security. Am I right? 2024. Let me take 2023 for you also. If you just see which questions are asked where. Question number 1, role of for faster economic growth, that is syllabus ka first point. Faster economic growth need the increased share of what? Manufacturing sector. They are linked to sectors of economy. Correct? Particularly MSME, secondary sector. Comment upon the present policies of the government of India. How are they able to do it or not? Getting the point? Similarly, the status of digitalization in the Indian economy. Indian economy ka digital status kitna hai? Why it is? Then examine the problems in this regard. Matlab 1 and 2 is again economy. Similarly, if you just see Question number 11 and 12, unemployment, correct? Now just see, unemployment is structural in nature, matlab type of unemployment, and examine the methodology adapted to compute. Matlab this is basic about what? Unemployment, how you're going to calculate it. But if we just see next question, analytical. This care economy and monetized economy, how can the care economy brought into the monetized economy? For that, you should know what is care economy. What are the characteristics? Can it be really brought into the monetized economy through the women empowerment specifically they've asked? What I mean, in this 15 markers, in that 10 minutes, you have to think, you have to bring lot of the data reports, and then you have to write. For this, what is needed is analytical skills. Again, 1 to 11, 12. Just see again question number 3 and 4. If you just see question number 3 and 4, e-technology help in the aid of the farmers, agriculture. Similarly, about land reforms, yet again repeated theme, right? Question number 3 and 4. Again, question number 13, 14, just see. Question number 13 and 14. That is changes in the cropping pattern, agriculture. Indirect subsidies, again agriculture. 3, 4, 13, 14. Similarly, question number 9 and 10. Winning the hearts and minds, especially in the border areas, to counter the insurgency in the border areas, internal security. Unmanned aerial vehicles, again internal security, 9 and 10. And just see 19 and 20. Internal security challenges faced by India and how are the security forces like CIA or anything, I mean central intelligence agencies वगैरह. And next is basically terror funding, that is money laundering. Again 1920 is basically आपका so called as आपका internal security. I'll just show you again 2022 का भी देखो, one or another I will show rather than investing time on this. If you just see again for here also 19 and 20, cyber security and basically socio-economic development. These are original papers, right? And this is what I hope you're understanding. If you're preparing in the right way and analyzing the issues, then only you can write the answers. ये directly chat GPT वगैरह कुछ काम का है नहीं अभी, correct? And the problem with GS3 itself is that there is no one-stop concrete notes, है ही नहीं, and note आ ही नहीं सकते for these topics. Getting the point? So this is the most important point. Now I will tell you why the UPSC is asking questions like this. The answer is very, very, very simple, which is given, the answer is given by UPSC itself in its original notification. What does UPSC say is that, for example, every time I am asking you to, for example, these are the syllabus points. For example, government budgeting, inclusive growth. These are very, very issues arising from it, multiple issues, correct? When I speak about internal security, just see the syllabus point. The syllabus point says that role of development, देखो, role of basically कहाँ पे क्या? Linkages between development and spread of extremism. This is so open-ended topic. Extremism ka there are multiple forms. First, left-wing extremism. Second, insurgency, radicalization, communalism, mob lynching. किसकी बात कर रहे हो आप? We don't know. ये term ही generic है. They can ask anything. To understand what and how they can ask, we need PYQs. And why we have to take the opinion, examine वगैरह? Because UPSC का original PDF है ये. What UPSC mention is basically on page number 30, it clearly mentions what are they expecting from an aspirant. First and most important point, to quote unquote, cut copy paste, देखो क्या बोला इन्होंने. Okay, now what they have mentioned, I will just read it for you so that it becomes easy for you. In the mains examination, whatever is the question that you saw is not basically just superficial. I will be analyzing. Who am I? UPSC. UPSC will be analyzing your intellectual traits and the depth of understanding a particular issue, not merely information. This is the major problem about GS3. People will make data sheet, fact sheet, GS3 का पूरा fact वगैरह रट्टा करते हैं जाके. Basically I will put it. होगा नहीं ना? Why? It says mains examination is intended to assess the overall intellectual traits and depth of understanding of the candidates rather than merely range of their information. ये मैं नहीं बोल रहा हूं, UPSC बोल रहा है. Because few of the students understand this, they are scoring still in 96, 95 in GS paper 3, and others are still stuck at 60s. The reason is very simple. This is where the thing is lying. Second, you should write the answers which are meaningful and relevant. This is what UPSC has given. I hope you're understanding. The second most important problem which I was discussing is this basically point, that is how to prepare. You should understand the concept, you should do the analysis, you should integrate the current affair. This is the first point that aspirant needs to do. And despite the syllabus is open, we need to have the continuous analysis of the topic from the different dimensions, right? Second, I told you that you are misunderstanding GS3 paper as economy. ऐसा है नहीं. Why? on the basis of this chart. Am I right? The third major problem of the aspirant is none other than PYQ analysis. PYQ analysis. Pehla topic hi tha basically something called as syllabus. Correct? You should know the syllabus, each and every topic, which most of them don't know itself. How to decode this syllabus. Second, PYQ analysis. Why PYQ analysis? Just now I have shown you all the questions. This PYQ will help you to understand the demand of the topic. Demand of topic or subtopic. Example, that is why I have written this. Example, if you try to understand Indian economic growth, bhai sahab, Indian economic growth can be asked in from any way. Matlab, the demand of the topic is not static, not just what is GDP, how it is going to measure. They are going to link this to inclusive growth. They are going to link to employment. They are going to link to this post impact of the LPG reforms. They are going to link growth to something called as investment model, that is PPP model or any other model. I hope you're understanding. So that means to understand this demand, I have to first of all decode the PYQ. This PYQs, especially I'm telling 2013 till 24, but at least 5 years ka you should complete decode. It will help you to understand demand of the topic, and most important is interlinkages between the syllabus and the topics, between the syllabus and its topics. Correct? For example, if I say role of external state actor and non-state actor in creating challenges to internal security, किसका टॉपिक है? इंटरनल सिक्योरिटी. और एक टॉपिक है इंटरनल सिक्योरिटी का, बॉर्डर सिक्योरिटी challenges and effective management. Now third is terrorism. Fourth is linkages of organized crime and terrorism. If you try to understand Jammu Kashmir insurgency, everything is present in the same point. Jammu Kashmir में external state actor Pakistan, non-state actor Lashkar-e-Toiba, right? उसके बाद in Jammu Kashmir you are having something called as terrorism. Major source money laundering. Correct? For that you need security forces. मतलब once you understand this particular issue, आपको चारों तरफ से देखना है. I hope you are understanding. So that means to understand interlinkages between the syllabus points, you have to basically do the PYQ analysis. Are you understanding it? So PYQ analysis will help you to understand the demand of the question, interlinkages between the topic, and it will provide you the right direction. This point most of the people tend to miss. 100%. ये मेरा guarantee है, ये problem. Fourth major problem, I will write it here. Fourth major problem is lack of analytical ability. Lack of analysis, I will say lack of analysis, and multi-dimensional understanding. Multi-dimensional understanding of a particular issue. For example, Operation Sindoor, as you know, there are multiple facets about it. Question can be role of the overground workers, which is already asked. Role of UAV, unmanned aerial vehicles, drones. Question can be role of the non-state actor. Question can be Indus Water Treaty and its impact. Question can be asked in multiple ways. Understand this. Matlab, analysis and multidimensional understanding of a particular issue should be done, which is not done. This will be understood only when you are knowing all the PYQs. Am I right? Am I sounding logical? Is it scientific? Correct? In this context, fifth, after this, lack of revision and answer writing practice. Now question is, why does this not take place? Revision, answer writing क्यों नहीं होता? Because of very simple reason, lack of precise notes, lack of bullet points and issue wise notes. It is not there. Because this is not there, revision भी नहीं होगा. And when revision is not there, you cannot relect this examination. Correct? And answer writing तो होगा ही नहीं, because the time is very less. In 85 days, understand guys, come on, Gentlemen, you have to cover 6 subjects where you have to do the basics, concepts, integrate with the current affairs, everything, which is extremely difficult. Am I right? So for that, you should have prior preparation, or if you're doing now for the mains, you should have some basic idea, and then you understand as early as possible what is the examination demanding. Depending upon that, you prepare, definitely the marks will increase. Am I right? Now comes the most important point. This is what is this. So basically I was started with this, something called as decoding GS paper 3. First and the foremost important part here is syllabus. Pehla point is syllabus students don't know. It should be on tip of the tongue. Second, you should know, first of all, syllabus. If you try to understand, first you should know syllabus. Second is basically you should do detailed analysis of the previous year questions. Third, then you are doing preparation. What you should be done? Preparation may basic concept, basic of that particular topic, plus analysis about that, and integrate this with current affairs. And for that, let us have certain precise bullet point wala notes. These are the basic 5 things which are essential for this examination. Let it be GS paper 1, 2, 3, 4. Am I right or wrong? Without knowing this UPSC is an ocean. You will get lost. Without knowing syllabus, without knowing PYQs, without preparing it in the right way, understanding the basics, plus doing the analysis, how can we do it? Am I right? So basically in this context, because these things are missing, that is what I have written here, vastness of the syllabus plus open-endedness of the syllabus. These 6 subjects you have to cover in limited time period, which is a challenge. Then what you have is yet another misunderstanding of the subject. For example, again here I will tell you, GS2 matlab kya hota hai? In GS2, which is the majority of the portion? Polity. Again a misconception. Are you understanding? 110 marks ka paper, 125 marks ka paper is from the polity. Baki ka 125 kahan pe gaya? Getting the point. So what you are presuming is not the fact. For that, the way I did the PYQ analysis, the question numbers, you should know each and everything. Then only you can understand where can I score well. Are you understanding? Next. Now, next is basically PYQ analysis is lacking, because of which you will not understand what will be asked. You'll keep on reading the editorial, but usme puchega kya? How will I reproduce it? To understand that, you need that PYQ decoding. Then only you can link the things, right? Next is analytical abilities is also a multidimensional way. Particular issues understanding is lacking. Lack of revision, lack of precise notes. I hope you're understanding. Now comes the major point. What UPSC says is, as I mentioned, aspirant needs to have in-depth understanding. What it is saying? In-depth understanding, and depending upon this in-depth understanding, it is going to check your intellectual traits. And this is what is the problem. Problem number 6. That is, people rote learn, or I would say memorize facts, figures, and they tend to reproduce, merely memorize, which is not going to be helpful. Why? Which is incorrect. Memorize, it is not going to, because you need application of it in the examination hall. How to do application? How will you understand this without practice, without understanding PYQs? So just memorizing the facts, figures. I know that you know FDI policy, target hai pura hai, kahan pe use karega, point ye hai, kahan pe use karega, and how you will use it depending upon nature of the question. I hope you understood. Now second, if you just try to understand UPSC ka, again, if you try to understand syllabus of especially GS paper 3, what is the syllabus and original questions asked by UPSC, not by any test series, then there are 2 challenges here, major 2 challenges. One, the first challenge is generic nature of the questions. Second, open-ended questions. And third is basically आपका so called as interlinked questions, interlinkages between topics and the related question. So these are the 3 ways, and these are the 3 challenges that UPSC has, not in official notifications told. This is what we are able to understand on the basis of the analysis of PYQs. All the questions are generic. What do you think? Examine, discuss. You know the topic, हाँ यार, there is something called as labor productivity. How is it linked to economic growth? सुनने में बहुत अच्छा लगता है. When you start to write 2 points के बाद क्या लिखूं यार? Am I right? Are you understanding? Unless you understand this basic, you will not understand the other aspects. One. Second, open-ended question. Do you think inclusive growth can be achieved through capitalism? पूरा open-ended. Yes या हो सकता है, no भी हो सकता है. Then you have to bring lot of data, facts, figures, comparative analysis of the different countries, etc., etc. Third, interlinkages between the question. Jobless growth, economic growth, inclusivity. ये तीन. Now the challenge here is you will understand and love when I'm telling, teaching. But challenge is this wala point which I'm writing. That is to gather information, or I would say content, to gather information or content relevant to demand of the question. Relevant to what? Demand of the question. Relevant to what? Demand of the question in limited time. Limited time is the greatest challenge. चैलेंज क्या है? पहला पॉइंट तो चैलेंज ही ऐसा है, बेसिकली क्वेश्चन ही ऐसे है, उसके बाद टाइम भी लिमिटेड है, एंड प्लस यू हैव टू ब्रिंग लॉट ऑफ, बिकॉज वॉट एवर यू स्टडी, वॉट एवर यू मेक द नोट्स, उसमें से कुछ नहीं आएगा, दैट आई विल गारंटी. करेक्ट? सो इन दिस लिमिटेड टाइम you have to, if you try to understand, in this limited time, what I'm speaking about limited time, matlab for 10 markers you are having 7.2 minutes. In this limited time, first of all you have to, pehla most important thing is understand demand of the question. What happens most of the times, you see some word which is familiar, inclusive growth dekha, sustainability ka, you start to write, scribble everything. अरे पूछा क्या है भाई, बता क्या रहा है. Getting the point. UPSC in its notification have clearly mentioned, if you read, credit मतलब क्या? Marks will be given for effective and exact expression, quote unquote. These are the words of UPSC. Credit will be given for what? Exact, meaningful, relevant, precise answers, right? What I mean by this is very simple. What you know, UPSC is not interested. What they have asked, it is interested in know what they have asked, and what you know about it, उसके बारे में बात करो. Getting the point? There are two different things. One, so this is basically आपका within limited time. First of all, you have to understand the demand. Second major challenge, gather the content or information which is relevant to the demand of the question. Then you have to substantiate these points. Correct? ये सब कुछ करना है under 7 minutes. Getting the point? So here, doing this in such type of questions, open-ended, analytical, etc., is very difficult, where we need to do the preparation priorly only, where we should have multi-dimensional analysis. We have to generate the dimensions. So this is the one of the major challenge that aspirants are facing, and they are not understanding. GS-3 में whatever is the issue, you have to understand it in depth. Is it clear? I hope you understood. So ये है आपका basic part about this. Now comes the most important point, that is answer writing. I will tell you what, how, where, right? And then I will take the questions. Now I will just sum it up again within 2 minutes. Basically, for this examination, the most important is understanding the syllabus. First of all, here understand syllabus mein matlab each word of it, each word and topic of it. Now question is, some of the words are open-ended. To understand that, do the PYQ decoding. Depending upon that, start your preparation, understand the basics about it, try to integrate, understand and try to integrate current affairs, and depend upon that, make the precise notes which you revise multiple times. But despite knowing this, students are facing a problem because of vastness, because of those basic points, generic nature, interlinkage of the syllabus, conceptual clarity is also needed, current affairs, and plus to do all these things, you are having something called as about 85 days. You are having merely All to do all these things, you have merely 85 days in your hand. Am I right? In your hand. करेक्ट ना? ये सब कुछ करना है किसका? ये सारे सब्जेक्ट्स का बच्चों. So to do this, time is limited. Secondly, there is no one-stop solution. No, I know that there are n number of materials in the institute, all the coaching material, but direct question कहाँ से भी नहीं आ रहे. For that, you have to have basically understand this demand interlinkages, have analytical understanding, multidimensional analysis, revise, write, and basically don't rather than memorize, try to apply that. How you are going to apply. You need to understand this. So these are the basic problems. And why the challenge is increasing? Because of this nature of the questions, and that you have to gather the information. Getting the point? Now, to understand this, all these things, and later answer writing, I hope you understood about Indian economy, right? I have taken one example of one particular topic, that is, how is this topics interrelated to each other. Example, I have told you that all these topics are interrelated to each other, and depending upon this interlinkages itself, the questions are asked. You cannot see anything in silos. Am I right? Hi Anna, come on guys. So in this context, I have taken Indian economy, issues related to planning, mobilization, and inclusive growth, where I have told you how the topics are interlinked. Depending upon this interlinked topics, how we have to interlink the current affairs, and how the issue-based notes should be made for the following topics which you are going to study. Is it clear? Let me take you one more point, and rather than now taking of economy, I will take a different subject so that you will understand, right? So here, I will take another topic, that is internal security. Internal security. Internal security. Now here, later at the end, I will tell you about the answer writing in last 15 minutes. But first, let me try to tell you internal security. Pehla kya hai? Basically about internal security is linkages between what? Development and spread of extremism, right? Logical. Now, if you just try to understand question kya pooch raha hai, you have to understand development and extremism. If there is lack of development, what will happen? Extremism will happen. Which type? Example, you can see it in form of what? Left-wing extremism, that is Naxalism. Correct? You can understand it in the form of what? Insurgency. Insurgency in two places. For example, Northeast India and something called as Jammu and Kashmir. Then you are having radicalization, vagera vagera. So what I mean is very simple. First topic is this topic, which again is an open-ended topic. Once upon a time, they asked you about mob lynching. They can ask about radicalism. They can ask about communalism also. How is that in border areas there is lack of development, and how can the communal tendency spread? And for that, how you have to win the heart and the mind of the people? Analysis lagega na, ye question tha. Correct? After this, what is essential is second topic. What they are told is basically something called as Pakistan wala banda. That is role of external state actors and non-state actors in creating challenges to internal security. Correct? Role of external state actors and non-state actors. Who is external state actor, guys? Come on. It is none other than our friend, that is Pakistan. Correct? And something called as China. And who is non-state actor? Lashkar-e-Toiba. Correct? The resistant front, the offshoot of it. Jaish-e-Mohammed. Right? ISIS. Ye sare ke sare. How are they aiding this particular thing? Challenges to internal security. Challenges to internal security are multiple. Now for this, in this context, all these things, state actors vagera, are linked to something called as basically linkages between organized crime and terrorism. Organized crime and terrorism. If you try to understand organized crime, matlab kya? For example, every city nowadays, you get something called as basically the drugs, correct? Arms smuggling, prostitution. Kaise hota hai? There is some linkages, right? How are they affecting it? Correct? How is money laundered? Black money aaya kahan se? There should be something. Now, for all these things, that means this thing is linked to one of the major topic, that is none other than terrorism. Terrorism is a very generic term, a very broad term, which is interlinked to basically Naxalism and basically आपका insurgency also, because all these are the subsets. Naxalism, insurgency, everything is a subset of the terrorism. Now, do you think terrorism, which I have spoken just now, is just for terrorism, what is the most important thing? If tomorrow, if I want to give you basically, if I want to ask you, please throw certain stones on the Indian armed forces in the valley, why will you do? First, if you are radicalized. Second, if I give you money. And how will I get money? Only one way. Iska basically something is money laundering. Money laundering. So money laundering is the most important thing. Correct? But for all these things, terrorism hoga, linkage between ye sab kuch hoga. For this, आया कहां से? In India, we are not producing opium, it is banned. We are not manufacturing arms, correct? Recently, the Naxalite, the most general secretary of CPIM was killed. This is what Amit Shah said, right? What will the impacts of that movement? I hope you are understanding. He was the topmost leader of CPIM, rather Marxist Leninist, I am telling you. So, how? So, kahan se aaya ye drugs? From where is this basically arms smuggling? Basically, border. India, if you just try to understand, is sandwiched between Afghanistan, Pakistan, and here Southeast Asia. Afghanistan, Pakistan, Golden Crescent, and this is Golden Triangle. So basically, because of that, role of border management, and issues associated with it. This is the most important. This is linked to everything. Border management is also linked to something called as basically organized crime. Correct? Right? And who is going to manage the borders most effectively? Come on. The various security forces, agencies, and their mandate. Right? Security forces, agencies, and their mandate. Agencies, their mandate. I hope you understood. Agencies and their mandate. Now, in India, we had seen many of the people from Kerala had joined ISIS, the ranks of ISIS, especially the well-educated technocrats, doctors. How did these doctors, these technocrats get connected to ISIS ka terrorist? Social media. That means, yes, basically right now is the backbone role of media, social networking sites in creating challenges to internal security, in creating challenges to internal security. I hope you are understanding. If you remember, in 2008, Mumbai attacks took place, where Honorable Supreme Court had slammed media channels for live reporting, live coverage 24/7. This time also, despite that, what happened? ये पहलगाम में ऐसा हो रहा है, बैसरन वैली में ऐसा हो रहा है. No media ethics. How can you link it? Is there any IT Act provision where you can regulate all this? Getting my point? So such types of question can be asked here. So what I want to say in short is very simple. All these points are interlinked to each other. And without these interlinkages, nothing can be answered. I hope you're understanding. For example, you have to later understand. For example, let me take one issue. If you consider border security, through this one simple diagram, I will explain everything. One simple diagram. So this is how the diagrams you have to include, right? Not this diagram, but in general. So now here, if you just try to understand, India, I'm just trying to tell you the challenges. And these are the questions also. Through the diagram only, I will tell you what are the PYQs. So now, if you try to understand, in India, the great challenges are, post-independence, the challenge which arose was none other than left-wing extremism. which started in Naxalbari village, right? What are UPSC PYQs? Every alternate year there is one question. Every alternate year there is one question on this challenge, that is something called as Naxalism. I will show you how. If you just try to understand PYQs of basically something called as internal security, just see. If you just see this PYQs, these are all UPSC PYQs. Linkages between development and spread of extremism, right? Left-wing extremism or anything. 2022 they asked a question. उसके पहले 2020 में भी पूछा है, 2018 में पूछा है, 2015, 2013. Every alternate year you will get a question on Naxalism. Am I right? ये analysis होता है. Now Naxalism, what you should know? 3 things. Meaning, what is the recent trend as per MHA? Whether it is increasing or decreasing, and why? Why is it still present in India despite 75 years of independence? What are the constitutional provisions? What are the developmental issues? यही सारा questions है. Getting my point? I hope you're understanding. So if you analyze these questions, then you will understand it now. Is it clear? So everything is dependent upon the questions, previous year questions. So when you are preparing, you should prepare it in an integrated way where you should be knowing all the basic aspects of this. For example, left-wing extremism, as I mentioned, you should know the recent trend as per MHA report, right? MHA ka report or NCRB ka report, National Crime Record Bureau, right? Second, you should know the causes, especially with respect to 5th schedule of India, correct? Why is that 5th schedule is not implemented properly? You should also know about the developmental issues, economic issues, economic and social issues. And in this context, what is a multi-pronged strategy or a solution of government of India to tackle this menace of left-wing extremism? Getting the point? These are all the questions. Why I'm able to write all these dimensions? Because I know what is the demand. When I'm preparing for left-wing extremism, I will know the data, I will know the diagram. I will not only just draw left-wing extremism area like this. This is what the common person do, left-wing extremism area. ये नहीं करूंगा मैं क्या करूंगा? If I want to increase 1 mark, I will show like this. If you just see the difference, I will just show you what will be the difference. Here I am showing like this. I will just write here Bastar or Bijapur, Dantewada, Sukma, correct? Then basically Gadchiroli, ये सब कुछ मैं लिखूंगा. This is called as precision. Are you understanding? ये क्या दिखाता है? मुझे पता है सब कुछ. दंतेवाड़ा, बीजापुर, दंडकर्णी रीजन कहाँ पे क्या हुआ, कैसे हुआ, right? This is a difference. You will show red corridor region. I will also show red corridor region, but in that precise places, I will रट्टा मारूंगा मैं चाहे तो. क्यों? Because question वैसे आ रहा है. Getting the point? Depending upon this question only, I am trying to tell you all these points, right? In this context, the second most important challenge is basically insurgency in the Northeast India. Why is there insurgency in Northeast India? First major point, rugged terrain, that is mountains, right? If you try to understand, here you are having the rugged terrain, mountains, plus at the same time, you are having something called as basically, आपका so called as dense forest. Both the things are present. Plus, you are having something called as आपका free boundary movement regime, where in a certain area, the continuous movement without any visas is allowed. But everything is sandwiched between something called as golden triangle, and here you are having golden crescent. So here, if you want to stop arms trade, then from here everything is being smuggled. So ये क्या हो रहा है? Smuggling. Why is the smuggling is happening? Because of this border. Why border? Because these borders are porous. Borders are porous. Porous matlab you can penetrate. Why you can penetrate? Because of the geographic terrain, mountains, forest, etc. Because of lack of vigilance. Multiple committees, Godbole committee, Shekadkar committee, सब कुछ पता होना चाहिए. I hope you are understanding. This is how the question is asked. Question will be not asked merely on the basis of basically क्या है insurgency. They ask specifically why is that the states which are bordering with the Myanmar are facing the challenges, right? Then I will come to the next challenge here. That is the classic challenge, so called as Pakistan. Pakistan के साथ question क्या पूछा उन्होंने? One time they linked this question to something called as economic cardinal subset, that is CPEC. Correct? China Pakistan economic corridor, and they are linking it to internal security and the challenge associated challenge, and then you have to answer it. I hope you are understanding what I am trying to tell you. Now, when you are considering something called as, now here along with this, nowadays in the recent times they are also focusing mainly upon maritime security, which we tend to miss. Maritime security, we are just focusing only upon something called as land borders, but along with the land borders we are also having something called as water or maritime borders, which are important. What is the strategy, what is the role of the coastal security guards, right? Why is the Indian Ocean region important for the Indian economy and its trade? Everything can be asked in interlinked way. इसके लिए analysis चाहिए. And these are all quote unquote all PYQs which I am trying to tell you. Nothing is my own. Now, when I'm speaking about this so-called as Apka Jammu Kashmir, then you should know the following things. For example, basics about it. Why is that basically Jammu Kashmir there is insurgency? So for that, when I'm drawing or when I'm writing the answers, I will not write like a general aspirant, because I know that इसके ऊपर question आएगा, so I will make it prepared. For example, when I know this, I will tell that yes sir, it is very difficult for effective border management. Question आएगा border management, 3 topics will be linked. Border management, role of non-state actors or external state actor, then terrorism, and then ये सबके बीच में है आपका जम्मू एंड कश्मीर. लॉजिकल, ऐसा क्वेश्चन आएगा और ऐसा ही क्वेश्चंस आया है. Is it clear? Then in this context I will tell it is very difficult for border management because sir of geography. Why? Because sir here it is marsh, here it is desert, correct? Here it is mountain sir, here it is mountains, I'll write it here, mountains. Here it is glaciers sir, right? Similarly sir, here nothing have been, I would say, demarcated. Only the line which is demarcating is so called as Radcliffe line. But sir, problem here, from here till this point, that is up to something called as basically Siachen glacier, till this point sir, I know that this is LOC, but now this LOC का भी issue हुआ after operation Sindoor. So sir, यहाँ से यहाँ तक 98 NJ 9842, NJ 9842, it is the crest of so called as a mountain. From here Pakistan says that this LOC should go straight so that this Siachen will come here, but India says no, the actual ground position line is this. This is called as actual ground position line. Is it clear? And Siachen apne paas hai. Now in this context, question is why are we not able to contain? So for example, recently we should then know where is Jammu Kashmir. For example, ये है आपका Jammu Kashmir, right? And then you are having something called as Ladakh. Then you should know, हाँ sir, ये Gilgit Baltistan है, right? Gilgit Baltistan. This is my POK, Azad Kashmir. When I say Azad Kashmir, actually it includes this part, Azad Kashmir. ये वाला. This is Muzaffarabad वगैरह. So recently the attack took place was here. So now when I'm writing the answer, I will also include the diagrams. I will tell sir the major challenge is basically proximity to Golden Crescent, then basically drug smuggling sir, then आपका so called as money laundering sir. All these are the challenges. I will show everything on the diagram. It becomes much more easy for the examiner to know that कि हाँ अब मैं ऐसा नहीं लिखूंगा, इसके अंदर जाऊंगा. Yes sir, here we are having something पूछ बारामुल्ला, correct? ये सब कुछ मुझे districts भी पता है. Why? Because I know question आएगा. I will make sure that I will prepare it and I will prepare it in a different way where complete 360-degree analysis hoga. Then I will tell, yes sir, here the role of overground workers is there, right? Then here there is issue of something called as Indus Water Treaty. Here there is issue of something called as Sir Creek. Sir Creek. Logical. 360-degree coverage isko bolte. What will be the potential impact of the abrogation of internal of so called as Indus Water Treaty? 5 points pata chahiye. That's it. Is it clear? So while I'm trying to tell this point, border management, all these topics are interlinked to each other. This is what I'm trying to tell you through this topic and through this syllabus point. Topics are interlinked to each other in the following way. This is what is the syllabus points. Is it clear, everyone? This challenge, this is a challenge for most of the aspirants. They tend to fail that हाँ ऐसा ऐसा है. Is it clear? Now come to the most important point. So this is what I have discussed about the majority of the points, that is none other than आपका so called as आपका economy. I have tried to cover one talk. Same goes for if you have to ask me the gender budgeting questions वगैरह, then I will tell it here itself. Gender budgeting का 2 types का question आता है. One is basically basic questions. बेसिक क्वेश्चंस में दो आता है, करेक्ट, कैपिटल रिसीट्स एंड बेसिकली रेवेन्यू एक्सपेंडिचर वगैरह वगैरह. देन दे आर आस्किंग यू समथिंग अबाउट लॉन्ग टर्म्स capital gains tax. Just listen first and then you write, then you can write long term. I'll just write it here. Basic questions, if you just try to understand basic questions. Long term capital gains tax, one. Secondly, they are asking us something about, as I mentioned earlier, revenue receipts, revenue expenditure, or capital receipt, capital expenditure, what it means वगैरह वगैरह. These are all basic. Second most important theme is GST, why it was introduced, what are the impacts वगैरह. Now उसके बाद द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट इज आपका सो कॉल्ड एज पब्लिक फाइनेंस मैनेजमेंट. ये सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट है, पब्लिक फाइनेंस मैनेजमेंट. सो पब्लिक फाइनेंस मैनेजमेंट मतलब ही आपका सो कॉल्ड एज FRBMA. हाउ इट विल ब्रिंग द मैक्रो इकोनॉमिक स्टेबिलिटी वगैरह वगैरह. Now in this context, as I mentioned earlier, once you understand the basics, you have to link what? Something called as immediately current affairs. What you have to link? You have to link something called as current affairs. Now again, what is the current affair with respect to this? Recently, what happened in this budget? Come on, क्या हुआ बजट में? पूछा यूपीएससी ने. Whenever something new happens, important क्या होगा? वो तो कॉमन है, पर्सन का. नेक्स्ट इंपॉर्टेंट इज बेसिकली इक्वलाइजेशन लेवी. Equalization levy, digital tax, imposed abolished. Imposed abolished. Which was imposed is abolished now. What it is? Why was it imposed? Now why it is abolished? Analysis होना चाहिए. मतलब all the basics के बाद this. I hope you're understanding. Next, basically about state of finances, about the basically the different states. What is the gross fiscal deficit of all the states? Gross fiscal deficit. What is the status of the revenue deficits? Then what is state का basically GDP to debt ratio? GDP to debt ratio, right? कितना है states का? Are they following FRBMA का guidelines? ये होता है analysis. This is topic is this growth and development. We have, if I'm not wrong, discussed in detail, topic linked. Is it clear? Then how is that this government budgeting will bring in something called as economic growth also through fiscal policy. Then in employment, what is the major focus? Major focus is upon the computation, upon the basically schemes, upon the schemes. Similarly, about the different most important issues like informalization of the workforce, casualization of the workforce, gig economy क्या होता है वगैरह. All these issues का once you understand the basics, you should have 10 points. Same goes for LPG reforms, what they are वगैरह. You should know internationalization of rupee, de-dollarization, ये क्या है, क्यों है. Getting the point. So basics, as I mentioned earlier, basics, analytical understanding, and then integrating with the current affairs. This will give 360-degree coverage. Same goes for something called as basically, if you just try to understand, ये आपका internal security. In a similar way, agriculture होता है. If I consider Operation Sindoor, then I will link everything. Role of external state actor, Lashkar-e-Toiba, Pakistan का. Then what was the problem in the border management? अंदर आए कैसे, कहां से आए, who helped overcome terrorist workers? Then basically nowadays recent type of warfare, changing warfare, hybrid warfare, grey warfare. Are you understanding? So if the changes are there, depending upon these changes only आपको पढ़ाई करना पड़ेगा. Money laundering, if there is any amendment to PMLA, you should know it. With respect to terrorism, Unlawful Activities Prevention Act 1967 and NI Act 2008, what are the amendments done? Analyze करो. ये मैं नहीं बोल रहा, यूपीएससी बोल रहा है. Depending upon that only आगे जाना चाहिए. I hope you're understanding. Then, if I consider about border management, every year compulsorily, कहाँ पे गया वो? Cyber security का कहाँ पे? So cyber security, each year one question on cyber security. It can be in the form of cyber warfare, cyber terrorism, or a particular project of basically Kerala or cyber dome project वगैरह. Similarly, presently कौन सा project आया है? C dot project by whom? त्रिनेत्रा. क्या करेगा ये, कैसा करेगा, पूछा था यूपीएससी. तो प्रेजेंट वाला भी क्या चल रहा है, विच इज इन न्यूज, विच इज द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट, यू शुड नो अबाउट इट. फर्स्ट टाइम यूनाइटेड नेशंस ने व्हाट इट हैज ब्रॉट, यूनाइटेड नेशंस कन्वेंशन ऑन व्हाट, साइबर क्राइम्स, पहली बार लाया है. अगेन क्वेश्चन कैन बी आस्क्ड अबाउट इट. हाउ मच इसेंशियल इट इज, व्हाई इसेंशियल इट इज, कैसे होगा, ये सब कुछ आएगा अबाउट साइबर सिक्योरिटी. एक क्वेश्चन पक्का आउट ऑफ 4 फ्रॉम साइबर सिक्योरिटी 100%. One question will be linked to 100% border security. बॉर्डर सिक्योरिटी, ऑर्गेनाइज क्राइम करो, नहीं तो बॉर्डर सिक्योरिटी, इंसर्जेंसी करो, नक्सलिज्म करो, कुछ भी करो, बॉर्डर सिक्योरिटी के ऊपर एक क्वेश्चन कंपल्सरी ईच ईयर. I hope you are understanding. So if you try to decode, you will understand the most important themes which are repeating and how you have to understand. ये सब कुछ होगा PYQ के बाद and plus syllabus के बाद. I hope everyone got a clarity about syllabus है क्या, करना क्या है. Everyone, any doubt scientifically? I'll just sum it up and then I will tell you about the last major point about the answer writing and then we'll wind up the session. Right? So first, what we started was something called as decoding GS-3 for any particular subject. What is essential is basically 5 major points: syllabus, understanding each topic and subtopic as what we have discussed about the 2 major topics. Secondly, understanding and decoding all the PYQs that will help us to understand the demand of the examination, interlinkages between the topic and the depth of the topic essential to understand, and the important themes, PYQs. Preparation, when you are studying, when you are reading, you have to understand and plus do analysis for the mains. मैं बोल रहा हूँ mains का specifically, and then you have to integrate with the current affairs and then simultaneously you should have bullet point छोटा notes. Okay, in this context, because these things are lacking, students are scoring in 60s, 50s or 70s, but there are students who have scored more than 95 also in GS paper 3. Rarely, but why and how? Because they know strategy. Why students are not scoring? Because they are not understanding syllabus itself. They are not understanding vast syllabus, open-ended nature of the syllabus. Time is limited. There is no single material which provides all the analysis, right? ये पहला challenge. Second, misunderstanding GS3 as complete economy. Economy सिर्फ 50 marks का है. Then PYQ analysis. Understand the important, as I mentioned, the important themes. Just now I told you about cyber security and border management. Important themes, understanding demand, understanding interlinkages between topics. ये सब कुछ कब होगा? Once you understand the PYQs. Similarly, not only understanding, and in-depth understanding and analyzing. Why? Because UPSC syllabus told it. Correct? Secondly, we have to revise and do lot of writing practice. Then only understand कि ये information, ये facts, ये figures, how to put in the answers. ये तब भी होगा possible. Logical. Now, in this context, we saw कि problem क्या है questions का? Generic nature, open-ended nature, interlinked. And to collect that information in that limited time period is a difficult task. Is it clear? So, ये major challenge है यहाँ पे. In this context, answer writing I will speak about. In this context, we saw basically the weightage of each and every point and each and every topic. किसका क्या? आप लोग सिर्फ इकोनॉमी का प्रिपेयर करते हैं, वो भी करंट अफेयर के 2 क्वेश्चन आते हैं, 2 बेसिक्स के आते हैं, प्लस वो भी एनालिटिकल. करेक्ट? दिस इज व्हाट द एनालिसिस सेज. सो दैट मींस प्रिपरेशन ही गलत है तो आंसर कैसा सही लिखेगा? Am I right? So same goes for the other topics also, right? In this context, we took basically the first syllabus, that is so called as complete syllabus of the Indian economy. We decoded the syllabus. What is the nature of the syllabus? For example, how it is interlinked to each other. We took an example of economic growth. We spoke about everything, how it will be linked to inclusive growth. In this context, when you are preparing all these things, you have to understand the basics of the topic. Basic understanding about the topic should be done first of all. And after it is done, you also link that topic to something called as PYQs and then integrate the current issues of the respective topic. I have told most of the current issues from most of the topics we should have bullet point notes. I hope you're understanding. Then I spoke about internal security. I decoded the syllabus, demystified the syllabus, how you have to prepare, in what way, and how the notes should be there, how the diagram should be there, what type of issues can be asked, vagera, vagera. In this context, come to the last and most important point, that is none other than the actual examination, that is answer writing. After the class, I will take the sessions. Now come to the most important point, that is answer writing. Now, when I'm speaking about answer writing में, first of all, this is आपका UPSC का answer sheet. This is UPSC का answer sheet. Understand this. I'm making very, very easy for you. You should not write on this side. This is what UPSC has clearly mentioned. The aspirant should not write on this side. Why I'm saying this? Because go home and Google UPSC negative markings. Google पे डाल देना and enter करना. And go to images. First mark sheet that you see, multiple mark sheets of multiple aspirants where everything negative marks. In the recent times, in UPSC Mains में UPSC is giving negative marks. Why? For not following its directives. What are the directives? Pehla, write in a limited amount of words. Second, don't use any symbols. Then don't write in this. So first of all, try to understand, follow these things, instructions. Pehla point. Now, here the question will be given to you guys, right? Now here the question will be given to you guys. Let us consider this is question number 4, right? And this is the question, and this is the question. Now when you start to write the question, for 10 markers you will be given 2 pages. For 50 markers you will be given an average 3 pages. Logical? You are having 7.2 minutes. Now when you are writing this particular question, let us examine the role of state actors and non-state actors in creating insurgency in Northeast India. Full stop. How effective is the border management? ये क्वेश्चन है, इमेजिन. तो मुझे सबसे पहले क्या करना है इन एनी पर्टिकुलर क्वेश्चन? फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल, आई शुड अंडरस्टैंड द डिमांड ऑफ द क्वेश्चन. Demand of the question. Understand. I hope this color is visible. Understand the demand of the question. This is the first major point. Now, to understand this demand of the question, what I suggest to the students after the practice, this will happen. Initially in the test series, read the question for 2 times. Read question for 2 times. Why I'm saying this, read the question for 2 times? Because when you see this question, generally में देखा है, examine the role of non-state actors in insurgency in Northeast India, and second, how effective is the border management with respect to organized crime. For example, ऐसा क्वेश्चन है, जैसे आपने ये देखा, आप लोग शुरू हो जाते फटाफट, because time is less. ऐसा नहीं करना है. When you read the question, understand what is he trying to ask me. Understand. Unless you understand what is the demand, whatever you write, credit will not be given. ये मैं नहीं बोल रहा, यूपीएससी बोल रहा है. Credit will be given for effective and exact expression to what is asked, not what you know. मैंने जो पूछा है वही बोलो. Is it clear? This is what is the first thing that should be done. For that, read the question 2 times. Is it clear? Now comes the most important point. After this, hitting the bullseye. That is something called as introduction. Now this introduction of any particular answer which you are writing, of any particular answer, should have 3 characteristics. Pehla, at the same time, you should also, when you're understanding the demand of the question, just see the directive words given. Directive words. What I mean by directive words? पूछ क्या रहा है? Critical, examine, discuss, elaborate. क्या पूछ क्या रहा है? या definition पूछ रहा है? या generic question है? Understand what he is asking, and then only move further. Now when he is asking what the idea, कुछ तो है question about, let us consider about digital taxation, equalization levy, it is about de-dollarization, कुछ तो question है भाई ऐसा, या फिर something about PDS, buffer stock का issue है. Now when the introduction and question is open-ended, तो question में सबसे पहला introduction, सबसे पहला major point, it should be precise. Precise मतलब 3 lines. नहीं तो आप लिखते हो introduction इतना बड़ा. Correct? दूसरा, most important, along with precision, it should be relevant. 90% times पूछा एक है, लिख रहा है बंदा. Correct? Second. Third, when I am writing introduction, there are 3 ways to start. 1, introduction is a window to an answer where you can start with any particular, for example, recent current affair ka issue, or you can state about a particular report or data or anything. Logical? Or the most common methodology is to write a definition. ये बस 5 तरीके हैं जिससे you can write the basically introduction. Am I right? As per economic survey, as per budget, this is what is the status वगैरह. So all these things should hit the bullseye. Hit the bullseye. What I mean by bullseye is nothing but what is the demand, उसको मुझे hit करना है. That should be the basic thing in the introduction. Compulsorily introduction में ऐसा ही होना चाहिए. Now come to the body part. When I am writing body part should be सबसे पहला it should be structured. It should be structured. Why structured? Because structured answer writing gives a great flow to your answer. You'll keep hitting the basic demand of the question. You write headings, body में heading, headings, and उसके बाद points. Again, if you want, you can write subheadings, and उसका points. Correct? उसका points. This is how you go with this. It should be structured. Try to write answer point wise. This is what I firmly believe. I will justify why point wise and why not subjective. Point wise is the only methodology in English language where you can tell any particular thing in most relevant, most succinct way. Correct? Essay writing में क्या होता है, बड़ा बड़ा जब पैराग्राफ लिखते हो, सेम थिंग, कॉमा, एफ, बट, देन, ऐसे ही चलता रहता है. बात क्या करना चाहते हो, सिंपल वर्ड्स में लिखो, because this is a characteristic of a bureaucrat. If you have seen any of the notification which has been released by basically IAS officer about a particular advisory, you just see it will be very very simple, very very easy, and minimum number of words. आप कोई भी देखो, for example tomorrow in Bangalore if there is a red alert for precipitation, advisory will be issued by BBMP. BBMP में कौन, commissioner IAS. He will write very very simple words which can be understood by common people in minimum words and maximum information. That is why point wise is the best way. I hope you understood point wise. Now, when you're writing the structured point wise answer, most important is substantiation of the arguments and providing different dimensions, bringing different dimensions to the answer. Different dimension to the answer. Now comes the point, substantiation ka. How to substantiation this particular thing. When I'm speaking about economy, I will substantiate with basically pie charts. I will substantiate with bar graphs. Correct? Temporally. Change in the cropping pattern. Correct? Compulsorily मैं ऐसे ही करूंगा. You will write in descriptive form. मैं diagram draw करके आऊंगा. ज़्यादा effective मेरा होगा. Getting the point? Secondly, I will use छोटा case studies. Case studies. I will use data. I can use report. I can use report. I will use, for example, if it is internal security, I will draw India. When it is about maritime security, I will draw Peninsula India and precise diagram as I mentioned earlier. Right? Now, here comes the challenge for most of the aspirant, and here is the point which I was trying to make here. That most of the aspirant क्या करते हैं? Memorize करते हैं facts. किसका facts? Of the syllabus points which they can include in this particular answer. Is it possible? Trust me, it is not possible in the examination hall. In this examination hall, this is not possible. Why it is not possible to put a memorized fact? Because you have not brainstormed it earlier. Example देता हूं मैं. If you just see the syllabus, inclusive growth, development, inequality वगैरह. If you are having 20 reports with you, जो कि दिमाग में, example HDI, Oxfam report, FAO का report, the same report, why can't you use it at different places? The report that you are using GS paper 2, why not in GS paper 3? Same बंदा थोड़ी check करेगा यार. गधे की तरह what I see, सबके लिए अलग अलग डेटा निकाला है. अरे दिमाग में कैसे रखेगा? Are you understanding? How are you going to keep in mind? It is very simple. About social justice if I am speaking, I need a data, I need a policy, I need a fact. The same thing what I did and why I scored very well in the mains was very simple. One data, one fact. For example, I will tell you one simple. Oxfam का report आता है, right? I will tell you one report again. IPCC का report. ये reports everywhere मैं use करता था. GS 1, 2, 3, 4 में. थोड़ी 4 का पेपर बंदा वाला पेपर 1 चेक करने वाला है. But it's an art to use the same data at the different places. It's an art. I will justify it. Inclusive growth, women की बात करते हैं. Gender inequality index, एक ही रट्टा मारूंगा, हर जगह पे यूज करूंगा. ये आर्ट है. GS पेपर 1 सोसाइटी में यूज करो ना, क्या प्रॉब्लम है? GS पेपर 2 क्या प्रॉब्लम है वहां पे यूज करने के लिए? What I trying to essay में भी, मतलब it's an art how you put in these facts and figures. Is it clear? So when I say this, I don't mean that कि आप बस facts बनाओ, fact sheet. You should have ready, but you should know how to apply it also. So body should be definitely be structured, point wise, substantiation, and most important is different dimensions. Try to bring some uniqueness in your answers. That will definitely differentiate your आपका so called as आपका body part. I hope you understood. And last is my something called as conclusion. What are the basic traits of the conclusion? Anyone? How? Generally, it should be solution oriented. Question जो भी होता है generally वो problem होता है. ये जो भी question ना, if you just analyze 20 questions of UPSC, GS paper 3, GS paper 2, वो problems होते हैं, problems. Conclusion में solution दे दो. Correct? Solution and way forward. Generally एक ही लिख सकते हो बेटा. Generally what I see nowadays in the test series, यहाँ से question introduction, I will tell you what is the problem. Introduction is till here point. Body starts from here, it goes till here, then way forward starts, and then conclusion starts. क्या लिखा? इतना आंसर है एक्चुअली आपका. And you are expecting out of 10 you should get 4.5. कैसे मिलेगा? 2 ही मिलेगा ना. आंसर ही इतना लिखा है आपने. Way forward and conclusion इतना लिखा है. Trust me, 90% of the students do this. Am I right or wrong? ये थोड़ी अलग होता है way forward and conclusion. एक साथ ही लिखो ना. मैंने पूछा क्या है उसका लिखना भाई. Why will I give you marks? So that is what is the most important challenge. And if you just try to understand those things, if you include, and then this will be your answer sheet. This is your answer sheet. This is what is your so-called as आपका the answer sheet. And one more point here, which I would like to note, is very important point here. When you are writing the body part, you definitely include the keywords and highlight them. If you are highlighting these keywords, it definitely have a lot of positive impact. It shows examiner कि जो आपने पूछा वो मुझे पता है और ये ऐसा ऐसा है. It becomes easy for me. So if you want to really understand how it goes, when you are writing any paper or any paper written by your own friend, take that paper and start to evaluate. You realize अरे लिखना क्या चाहता है, क्या बोलना क्या चाहता है. And if you take another topper का paper and you just go through that paper, what will you realize? He is telling me that whatever I have asked, he is writing in a point-wise manner. It becomes easy for me, so it has a psychological impact. Is it clear? And one more important point here, which I would like to substantiate here, is the presentation aspect. So if you just have seen just now, whatever I have taught to you since slide number 1 till 20-40 pages I have written, what is the best part that you liked about me? 1, structured, organized, and good presentation. Presentation से number नहीं बढ़ता, but it gives a good feel to the examiner. I hope you are understanding. Use good pen. Correct? Because you don't have time, you can't use 2 pens, but if 1 pen that you are using, अच्छा pen use करो. Is it clear? So I hope you understood about this particular point, that how you have to write the answer. So in this context, I have tried to decode the GS paper 3 on the basis of basically the mistakes committed, what one should not do about the particular thing, and depend upon that how the preparation should be done. Is it clear to everyone? This will be definitely helpful for the students who are watching, who are going to write anything. Is it clear? So here at the IBC GS paper 3, which I am going to conduct, I will be conducting myself all the subjects in GS paper 3. Remember this. Myself, I will be conducting all this 6 subjects I will be teaching. Is it? एक तो अभी तो almost पढ़ा भी दिया economy का, correct? Internal security. Actually, I was the one who was taking internal security earlier also, but I'm telling you explicitly because most of them are not aware about this fact. I will take complete GS paper 3. Is it clear? Where every topic, subtopic in a decoded way, in a holistic way, will be covered with the major emphasis only on one thing, that is PYQs and the current issues. Correct? With this PYQs and the current issues, and as per what is the syllabus ka notification, depend upon that, every point will be covered. Right? Within 10 days, if you're covering this, it becomes easy for you to revise. Secondly, what I have taught for this time and what Manju has taught is basically in every class, we'll make sure you write one answer. Because to incorporate all these things, which I'm trying to tell you, that after this, which I told you about the answer writing, most important thing, right? Which I told you just now about this answer writing. To bring all this in limited time is very difficult, where you have to start practicing. You may not have this art. In the class itself, we'll write 2 to 3 answers per day. Out of the 2 to 3 answers, one will be generic, not current affair wala, generic PYQ, and 2 will be current issues. Correct? So in 10 days, you'll be writing 30 answers in the class itself, 20 to 30 answers. If you're writing 20 to 30 answers in the class itself, you will develop this art. आपको दिमाग में आने लगेगा. How to use, हाँ sir ऐसा कर रहे हैं. Getting the point, this will be definitely be helpful to you. I hope you understood. So this is all from my side about so-called as basically आपका GS paper 3, how it has to be prepared. This was a very, very general and a more precise, generic, yet precise about how you have to go about the preparation. I took 2 major subjects, internal security and economy. Rest of the 4 will also be done in a similar fashion, in a similar way. But because of time paucity, I am telling you only these 2 subjects. I hope you understood. समझ में आया पूरा डिटेल में हमने किया है. So if you want, last time I will sum it up and then I will end. So for any subject, syllabus, just remember, दिमाग में डाल दो ये syllabus, PYQ, decoding, preparation, basic concepts, analysis, current affair integration, and this. Major mistakes, students who are writing this mains or who have written in the past and who are not able to score because you misunderstood GS3 as economy. You're not able to manage this 85 days, where in this IBC, in this 10 days, everything will be taken care of, all these things. How? Because I know ऐसा आता है तो इतना ही करना है यार. Correct? Secondly, don't consider GS3 as basic economy. Third, basically, and decode all the PYQs. You'll directly understand because themes are repeated. If you're having already set keywords, you can easily reproduce in the answers. Similarly, analysis and the different dimensions to a particular question should be understood. Similarly, we have to revise and write a lot, not just merely memorizing the facts, but we will try to apply it. In this context, we also saw the challenges of the questions, generic, open-ended, and interlinked. So to gather that information in that 7 minutes or 9 minutes is a difficult, where we'll inculcate that art. Similarly, this limited time mein kya karna hai, which I told in what 10 minutes to write this answer. Later, what we focused upon in answer writing, what are the basic components? You have to understand the demand of the question, and then directive words, and also then introduction, body, conclusion mein kya chahiye, kaisa chahiye. I hope this is clear to everyone. Now, later what we saw is about the weightage of each and every subject. कौन सा question आता है on the basis of original papers from 21 to 24, right? उसके बाद we saw the syllabus, how to decode, then how to understand each and every topic. Example, Indian economy issues related to planning, mobilization, resources, growth, development, and inclusive growth. How this topic is interlinked to the other topics like employment, LPG, वगैरह. How you have to include the bar graphs, pie charts from the data from the survey, वगैरह. Along with this, when you are interlinking this to the other topics, you are understanding the demand of the question. Then we are trying to integrate the current issues like basic liquidity, deficit, gross knowledge domestic product, वगैरह. We have to include it with the basic issues. The same will go for the other topics where the questions are also static, plus current affair based questions from each and every topic like state of finances, then basically आपका so called as equalization levy, rationality. Same go for LPG reforms वगैरह. For example, in the recent time, if you consider investment model, in this investment model, FDI, India from year 2000, April 2000 to basically आपका March 2024, in this 24, India for the first time have crossed $1 trillion. तो उसका एनालिसिस करना पड़ेगा, कहाँ पे आया, क्यों आया, how it is helping the infrastructure, वो सब कुछ करेंगे हम लोग यहाँ पे. करेक्ट? Then similarly, industries में there are n number of the bills which have been passed. रेलवेज का क्वेश्चन अभी भी आया था, कवच प्रोजेक्ट. उसके बाद रेलवेज बिल अमेंडमेंट इज देयर, हाउ इट विल बी हेल्पफुल, उसके बारे में पढ़ना पड़ेगा. शिपिंग इंडस्ट्री, राइट? देन इंटरनल सिक्योरिटी, वी हैव decoded all this. In this context, different issues I have tried to tell you how the question will be there and how you have to write the answers, how you have to substantiate the arguments. I hope you got a clear cut roadmap in your map. Is it clear? Definitely you can prepare this on your own, but it will require more time. The process will be simplified by us because we have been in this for a long period of time and doing all these things for multiple times, and which have yielded successful results. So I hope that this will be helpful for general students also who wants to know how to prepare and what to prepare. Is it clear? I hope this was helpful, everyone. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. So I hope to see you on the 2nd of June for GS paper 2 and 14th on GS paper 3. Thank you, everyone. Now here Manju sir will be continuing. You can take 5 to 10 minutes break. He will continue, right? In another 5 to 10 minutes. Is it clear? Please attend his session also. He will also demystify what is GS paper 2. He is the walking Lakshmikant of Chandra layout. So you'll be knowing about him. He also provides each and every point No, I'm not trying to tell him, because I have seen the results. He has also seen my results. That is why we are doing it together. The reason is very simple. He will also give every point, topic and subtopic notes for this, right? So I had a last year ka notes which I had brought for the students had written, but I missed to bring it here. But if possible, I will basically post it on Telegram, through which you can go it. Is it clear? Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you for this.